All right, so I'm super excited that I get to review something that I didn't have to pay for, which is awesome. So I got the Borenbuir for free. Don't ask questions, just did. Um, so it's the professional mic preamp. You can see there's a picture on the back. So super excited that I got this and get to review it. It is a microphone preamp, like I said. It retails for $50 on Amazon, which is, I believe, the Dynamite's 100 and the Cloud Lifter is 150. So this is definitely the most cheap, and it's not easy to get open. So what a microphone preamp is, for those that don't know, is like, let's say you have a dynamic microphone and you want to drive it. So which means drive it, you want to get the up to volume for people to actually hear what you're saying. That's what one of these things do, is it gets your microphone up. So you can see it does have some documentation here, kind of stuck to the side. You don't need much documentation. This thing does have no buttons, no anything. It's nice how it came in this little like case like that. So what this thing, oh, it looks pretty good. So you can see it is pretty, feels pretty solid. I like the matte black finish. You can really see they kind of ripped off the design for the most part of the, whatchamacallit, the Dynamite, the SD Electronics Dynamite. So anyways, back to what a preamp is. So you have a dynamic microphone. It can't, you can't get the volume up. So even if you have your volume cranked all the way up on your audio interface, then what you're going to do is you're going to use one of these, and it's going to be able to give you extra between 25 to 30 dBs of gain. So, which is a lot. And they call clean gain, which means it shouldn't have a lot of noise to it. And that's the other thing, is if you have a cheaper audio interface, then the preamps in it might be a little noisy. So you get a little bit more noise in your recordings, and a lot of people don't like that. So they'd buy one of these, put it on like here or on the end of the microphone, and you turn on your 48 volts of phantom power. Almost every audio interface has 48 volts, and it activates a boost in gain to get your things so you don't have to crank your volume up all the way, because either your preamps are too noisy or your preamps aren't strong enough. This, word of caution, this is becoming less and less of a thing as the new audio interface is coming out, like the Focusrite 4th gen. The preamps are strong enough to drive almost any microphone. But if you have like a Gen 2, or I have a Gen 3, a Focusrite 4i4 Gen 3, it might not be powerful enough to drive something like this without, because this has a Dynamite built into it, SD Electronics Dynamite. This is the Dynacaster. But let's say if I didn't have this and I didn't have the boost, I might not be able to drive this one because it requires too much gain to get it up to where it needs to be. So you'd use one of these, and it should give you cleaner gain. So I'm not going to use this microphone because, yeah, I have to unplug stuff, and I'm kind of lazy. Sorry about that. I'll use the SD Electronics V7. This is my old workhorse here. Really great microphone, only $100. Highly suggest this one if it's a great starter microphone. Like, these two things together, maybe a great starter kit for somebody, and then you grab a cable, and then. So, like I said, this is for somebody that has maybe an older audio interface, doesn't want to upgrade to the new one, and so what you do, get one of these bad boys, and it's $50. So let's see if it's any good. It might not be very good, but we'll go ahead and check it out. Okay, so this is with the microphone with the, you can see it's pretty ugly. So let's turn this up to a usable level. So I got this at about 11 o'clock here. So this is a pretty usable level to talk with somebody for. Like I said, this is pretty ugly. I wouldn't be running around singing like this. It would be kind of weird looking. So having this on a shock mount or something to make it look a little better, or even if you're going to have it out of frame, depending if you're Like if you're gonna have it down here like this, that's fine. But it does look a little bit intrusive. Like it's kind of ridiculous, especially with this kind of microphone. But having it on a boom arm with a shock mount won't make a difference. So I'll be quiet for a sec, and you can see if you hear any interference or anything coming in. So I did catch like one little pop there. The other thing is this microphone. It's not a studio mic; it's a handheld dynamic. So I did try to eliminate most factors in testing this. So I'm using a Mugabe Gold cable. These things are pretty expensive. They're the most expensive cable. They eliminate RF interference, which is like the electrical interference coming from like a computer or lights here or whatever. So I'm trying to not have as much variables, but I'm getting a couple pops and stuff through it. So that's not good. I don't know if that happens quite a lot or if it's just maybe I don't got a good fit. So let me be quiet for a sec to hear. Yeah, so I got like one or two pops. So like, but anyways, what I was saying with this microphone, since it's not a studio mic, like if I put this right next to my tower, you could hear that little bit of noise. I'll hold it there for a sec again. So yeah, what that is called RF interference. So it's electrical interference, and it's that can come through if something's not shielded enough, like this microphone. So it happens. So I'm aware of that with this one, so I wasn't too surprised. But other than a few little pops, I'm like trying to hear. Yeah, that just maybe it's just because it was new and it's just activating. So let me turn up the volume. So now we are at about, let's say, 2 o'clock. And you can see it's, I'm trying not to clip right now, overdrive it, but here it is at 2 o'clock. I do hear a little bit of electric current coming through it, so up at the higher levels, and I will test just the audio interface and see if that might be what it sounds like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and see how this fits up against the cloud lifter here. So the cloud lifter is about 3 times as much. Let me turn this back down so I can actually talk. So well, we'll put the cloud lifter is about 3 times as much, as about 150 new, I believe. This is $50, so it's a lot cheaper. And the Dynamite, which is this is what completely copies, is $100. So it's the cheapest out of all of them so far. Besides those 1 or 2 pops and maybe a little bit of whatchamacallit, interference, like at the higher, about the 2-3 o'clock range of the Focusrite 3rd Gen, it gets a little bit of interference. But other than that, it's not too bad. Like the sound's not, I don't really hear big of a difference. So let's go ahead and plug the cloud lifter and see if there's a big difference I hear between this thing and that. Okay, so I got the cloud lifter on. You can tell the volume's at 0. So let's turn this up. So this is how it is about this is again at 11 o'clock. I don't hear any current, so there's no RF interference. So there was a little bit on the Borenbuir. So that if that's an issue to you, so you're looking for like a super clean preamp, the cloud lifter still does beat it. Let me see. I'll put this right by my tower. Nothing, no interference. Yeah, so if that extra little bit of interference, like if it bothered you, then yeah, maybe you would spend the extra $100 to buy this. So 150. The other issue is it does require an additional cable. The plus side is, you just have just the cable. You don't have that long thing. But if you're putting it on a boom arm, that probably isn't big a deal. So let me turn this up to 2 o'clock like I had the other one. Oh, and I'm still getting that RF interference now. So I have to back away from my tower even more. So it could be the microphone again. Like I said, there's that sort of issue, but I am hearing a little bit of the interference at this at 2 o'clock. So let me put the cloud lifter. So I'm getting a tiny bit of interference, so I'm putting it right near there. But not really anything. So is it worth an extra, so 3 times the price, so 150 versus $50? I mean, if let me turn that back down. I mean, if you really are like serious in a studio and you need to have those clean preamps and you're doing a bunch of stuff with the microphone, it might be. But comparatively to the Borenbuir, I think if you're streaming and stuff, no, I'd probably go with this. Not just because I got it for free, but because $50 versus 150, you could buy an extra cable or spend more money on a Mugabe gold cable to try to get even less interference. I think that would be a lot more beneficial than to be wasting a ton of money on a preamp, especially now with like the preamps are just going to get better and better with the audio interfaces. So this is kind of like why this thing got so cheap. So one last thing to look for is I'm just going to use just the audio interface, and I'll show you what the preamps sound like on the Focusrite. So again, this is at 11 o'clock. We'll go ahead and turn out the 48 volts, unplug this, and then we'll just have just the Focusrite and see. I know this can be driven just with that, but we'll see if there's any bigger difference as far as like RF interference and noise. Okay, so volume's at 0, 0, 0. This is it at halfway, turning it up. So this is finally able to hear me at about 85, 90%. So being quiet, I hear the smallest tiny amount of interference. So yeah, this is with the Focusrite turned up pretty high. The gain's pretty clean. Don't have the phantom power turned off because don't need it. We'll see if the phantom power actually affected the RF interference. No, as you can see, it's still just the microphone. So yeah, you don't need a cloud lifter, I guess, and it's negligible for a microphone like this. But if you, like I said, one of these, like the Borenbuir, is really meant for like a Shure SM7B, RE20, RE320, anything that's Electro Voice. Other one that would be for is like the Rode Procaster. Condensers, you don't need it really, or well, you don't need it at all because you just use the 48 volts, and they're a lot hotter. But I would definitely say if you're using one of those ones, like you're dead set and you blew all your budget on a Shure SM7B, and now you realize your Focusrite, like second gen or third gen, can't drive it, and you blew all your money, then you might want to just think about get that. Especially too, because then you won't have to buy an extra cable. And the good thing about this is if you're getting the Shure specifically, it's like it's on the top part of it. This would work really well because it's also black, so it matches it perfectly. So that's another reason to get that if you're really concerned about it, because the Dynamite, which it copied, is red, so it sticks out a little bit more. But this one's a lot of microphones are black, so you might not notice as much in a shock mount. But if you're not getting a hard to drive dynamic microphone and you're using like something like this, the Focusrite or most of your other interfaces should be strong enough to be able to drive one of these microphones. But if you're not, and you don't want to blow $150 on a cloud lifter, this thing, other than the 1 or 2 pops, I'll have to test this way more. But as far as the 1 or 2 pops, when I was working with this for about an hour or two, I only heard it right at the beginning. So I think it's just literally with me first plugging it in that made it kind of pop like that. This is newer, so I can't speak to it. It is made in China, but so is the ST Electronics Dynamite. It's also made in China. So I'm pretty sure they just use pretty much the same technology as the other one. So I think it's a okay product. Here it is again. And I think that yeah, if you're in the market for an audio or for a preamp that's affordable and you have a hard to drive microphone and you don't have audio interface, then yeah, I'd suggest this. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave me a comment or no, it doesn't. But yeah, if you have any questions, I'm always willing to help. And yeah, hopefully this video helped you around the fence about wanting one. Yeah, it does work. Other than those one or two pops when you first plug it in, it seems to be a pretty solid product. And I would, if you're in the market for one, and especially one that you only need one cable for, this is definitely one of those. You could do the Trident Fathead is the other one. Dynamite. This is just another one that's just like the cheapest option. I think it's worth the price. I'd suggest this, especially if I needed one and gonna put it on a shock mount. So yeah, hope this video helped.